This area was originally a cemetery used by Chinese immigrants before it became a killing field. Pol Pot was a communist leader who came to power in 1970, and it was largely because it was a reaction to the Americans bombing in Cambodia, and it really forced a lot of people to sympathize with the communists in Vietnam. And then he received support from both the communist government in Vietnam as well as Russia and China. And then the US, the CIA, we supported a general who made a coup against the Prince of Cambodia. And when that happened, the Prince decided to support the communists as well. So that's how Pol Pot came to power. When the killings were happening, they would bring in a truckload about every other day of 50 people or so. And then by the end, closer to 1975, they were bringing about 300 people here every night. And they would do the killing at night. So it was lit by fluorescent lights powered by a generator. And to hide the noise of the killing, they would play music from a tree over here. And so it was a horrific sound that they described while people were getting killed and thrown into the graves. It's important to remember that this is just one of hundreds of killing fields around Cambodia. Many of them have been reclaimed by the jungle, or they're inaccessible because they're surrounded by landmines that are still active. And it's just crazy how many people they killed. I mean, they killed 3 million out of a population of 8 million. They've exhumed most of the bodies from the mass graves over in the fields, but here under the water, they've actually left all of those. So there's hundreds of bodies underneath these little ponds. In 1979, it was ultimately the Vietnamese military that liberated the country and removed Pol Pot from power. He and the Khmer Rouge then escaped to the jungles near the border with Thailand, and he continued to lead the Khmer Rouge until 1997 when he was placed under house arrest. But he just died of old age in his early 70s. Most of the victims were falsely accused of being against the state they called Angkar, and when they would accuse someone, that person was immediately killed, but they would also kill their whole family, the wife, the children, everybody, because they didn't want to leave anybody to avenge the death of their family member. So they would kill children. There's a tree up here where they would grab the babies by their legs and swing them so their head would smash against the tree. A Vietnamese soldier recounts finding that. He found the tree here when they liberated the place, and he couldn't understand why there was blood, brains, and bone on this tree. When the Vietnamese soldiers found this place, they found chickens eating the bloated dead bodies. They say that the chickens are all fat. Just as I remember being here 20 years ago, you still see the bone fragments and the pieces of clothing in the ground here. With every rainstorm, there's more that keeps floating up to the top. And people come every few months that work here, and they collect that and then preserve it for archives. It was really horrific. I mean, just to save bullets, they would often kill people with a simple plastic shopping bag they'd throw over the head of someone, or bash their head in with a hammer or a machete. Back in Phnom Penh, we got to meet 3 survivors from the prison where they were torturing people in the city, and we bought their books, so we'll be able to learn a bit more about their story. But I thought it was interesting that Duc, the prison leader, the one who was ordering all the torturing in that prison, he was only sentenced in 2017, and he's of course a very old man, so he's not going to serve much of that sentence. Because the new government was installed by communist Vietnam, the UK, the United States, and others, we didn't want to recognize the new government, so we continued to provide foreign aid to the Khmer Rouge even 10 years after Pol Pot had been ousted. Everywhere you step here, there's still remnants, bone fragments. You can see Lily's just sitting here, and you can see there's a bone fragment right there, and there's a piece of skull right over there. So it's unavoidable, it's absolutely everywhere.
This one was the original school fence, and this is what they built to keep the prisoners inside. Just a little bit of air.
this graffiti here on the wall from when it was a school prior to 1970. The building was built, I believe, in the early 1960s. You can see these pieces of metal driven into the wall here, and they would have people tied up with both arms behind their head. They'd torture them right here.
Reminds me of communists.
This reminds you of the communists? Anytime a political party puts the word democratic in their name, it's definitely not democratic.
Definitely not. That's what.
There's more graffiti from when it was a school. Mickey Mouse. And here's some character.